Okay. So I've hit a button that said start streaming, but I really don't think I'm actually streaming. There it is. This computer says I'm streaming. I'm gonna unmute this thing for a second. Oh, I am streaming. Hi internet, how are you guys doing? I'm Nick. You may have seen me before. I tend to talk about things on the internet. Let me just get this thing ready before I get rolling. I like going live because it adds a layer of authenticity. I feel that I haven't over edited this and corrected a bunch of things. Like, I'm gonna make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect, and I'm not an expert. I don't work for XYO. I don't work in coin. So hey, thank you for tuning in to watch this. Just know that everything I say is me and my opinions and what I have read up on and what I think is accurate. Take that with a grain of salt. I've done a lot of research and homework, but I don't necessarily have all the answers, and I definitely don't have all of my answers right. So I'm just going to get the chat window here so I can see. If you'd like to say something, go ahead in there. But today I wanted to do a brief little video that's really inspired by a post on Reddit. Now let me back up a little bit before I get into the Reddit post itself. If you haven't updated, there's a new version of Coin that just dropped that includes some new features. Screensaver's been out for a little while now, which is nice. There's the dunes, which is just kind of a graphical enhancement on the screen. But the big one, the big one, is a new bottom bar, which lets you see how much you have sitting out in uncollected geodrops, which is kind of nifty to be able to see. It also allows you to create something new they call the Geoclaim. Now what the Geoclaim is using your current GPS location, you can claim the land you're standing in, and it gives you a 25-mile box around where you're currently located. And the idea is you collect 10% of all mining rewards that happen on the land that you've claimed. Now, this area can be claimed by other people, and you share ownership on a percentage basis. So this came out, and I'm always an early adopter. I've downloaded every update as soon as I've seen it, and I didn't really understand it right away, so I hit the info button, and there were some help documents. And I thought I understood what was going on. What I understood in my mind was that once a piece of land was claimed, money was going, or sorry, not money, can't use that term right now, XYO tokens were going into a pool that I, at the first moment, had a 100% ownership stake in. And that pool would continue to build up, and then at the end of the 7-day period, basically meaning Monday at 0000 UTC time, that pool would be divvied up based on the ownership percentage at that time, which wasn't the case, isn't the case, and we'll talk more about that towards the end of the video. What's interesting is a lot of Twitter users and Reddit users are upset because they think that 10% of their mining rewards have now been given to somebody else. I would like clarification on that from XYO, because I said the same thing with Sentinel sharing. Am I, by using a shared Sentinel, giving 10% of my mining rewards to somebody else, or are an additional 10% of rewards being relayed to that person? Now, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's not a huge deal. But these are the types of things that people that haven't taken the deep dive and haven't really gotten into the technology to understand things, they care about them. They look at it and they see it as, oh, you're taking my money away and giving it to somebody else. That's kind of not the case. Hey, anybody out there, can you just jump in chat, let me know that you can hear me okay? I'm using a new broadcasting tool. I'm not sure if it's working the way I want it to. All right. Hopefully I'll see a response in a little bit. Got a few watchers. But anyways, so let me dive into this Reddit post because it was a really good post that I saw this morning, posted by I am Ben Zanker. I have it right here. Prove me wrong, but in its current state, there's no amount of XYO that gives me a positive return for geoclaiming. And I have the image larger here, so it's a little easier to read on the stream. And huge thanks to Ben for posting this because it really inspired this whole live stream today. I've been wanting to do a video because I've gained some followers out of my, 5 or 6 videos that I've done. And I'd like to keep talking with you guys and build this community even more. But yeah, so this is the post. It's some very straightforward algebra. P equals the coins that you've paid for staking. T equals the amount of coins mined on the tile over 7 days. W equals ownership of tile and is really a percentage between 0 and 1. G for gross yield, which of course is 1/10 of the coins mined times the ownership of the tile. And N is the net yield, meaning your gross minus your expenses or what you've paid P. So, yes, Coin App, XYO, yes. You are watching the right thing here, Thomas. So, these assumptions here that he makes about Brooklyn, New York, I'm going to forget. Everything below this point on the paper is not part of the original question that there is no amount of XYO that gives me a positive return for geoclaiming. This is an example, but to prove you wrong, your example doesn't really matter, right? So if we go to the algebra here, this chunk right here, I don't know how well I can zoom in, right? G equals 1/10 TW, or N equals G minus P. So we can just cross out this G and write this in here. And just for simplicity's sake, when I wrote it, instead of 1/10, I wrote 1 over, or 0.1 times TW, okay? So given that, your net is equal to 1/10 TW minus P. Very easily here, we can tell you you will receive a positive return if 1/10 of TW is greater than P. It's pretty straightforward, don't have to dive too deep to explain that. I did take it to a spreadsheet though, and this is a Google Doc which I'll make publicly available after the stream. I should have done it before, but I wanted to make sure that my values didn't get changed on me. So right now the minimum purchase is 100 XYO tokens to, I'm calling it stake. I know that's the wrong term. Staking a claim, buying a share, that's just, the Geoclaim term to me is kind of confusing, but it's really not staking in the sense that other cryptocurrencies use the term staking. So here, you pay 1,000 coins to own a share. You mine 1,000 coins and you own 100%. Well, then your yield is 100 and you break even. And this may be easier explained if I just show you like this. If nothing gets mined and you paid 100, you lose 100. If you paid nothing, but you own 100, that doesn't make sense. Just giving you an example. And you mine 100, we get 10 for a gross, and then 10 for a net. Make sense? Okay. So, anytime when we put a combination of your amount paid, your amount mined needs to be enough that you will win. So in this case, the break-even number is 1,000 mined to cover your paid. But the problem is, what if you don't own 100%? What if 2 people go in at 100 coin? So now you own 50%, and again, you're losing. So it looks very, very difficult. The thing to keep in mind is this really kind of isn't how it works anyway. the math is accurate, and the statement is still accurate. If 1 times TW, or 0.1 times TW is greater than P, you have positive return. That is true and undisputable, I believe. The game is figuring out where you're going to get the highest T, maintain the highest W, and have the lowest P. That is really the battle that the people playing this game need to figure out. How do you keep your P down, keep your W up? You're in very little control from that angle, other than investing in places where people don't think it's worth investing. And then how do you get the T up? Well, that you are kind of in control of, because you can also mine in these areas, and your mining does get added to the rewards pool. So, you know, if you know there's an area where 1,000 people are running the coin app, it might be worth investing. But if those 1,000 people all also are interested in geoclaiming, well, now you're going to have a high P to get a high W. Those numbers are interdependent. So I took this spreadsheet to another level here, and I've added the math for competitors. So let's go to that example I just said. If I paid 100 and there were 1,000 mined, and there were no competitors involved, we get the same exact result. But if we have a competitor that also paid 100 for the same 1,000 coins mined, now I only have 50% ownership and my yield is negative 50. Gross 50, net negative 50. So what if we're looking at, you know, I've put in 1,000, and I haven't run this math yet. I have no idea what's going to come up. So we own 91%. Let's just make this a little easier math. We put 900 here, competitors put in 100, so I own 90%. Well, I'm still losing here. I'm guessing we're going to have to be around 120,000. I went too high. 1,300. Jeez. Don't trust me for math. Let's try 6,000 and see what that looks like. 8,000. 9,000. 9,900. 999. So you can see that in this case I need a lot more. Now that's partially because I've invested so much more at 900. I have to recover my 900 plus the 10,000. So what some people have complained, because they see these numbers and they don't really like that the coins paid. By the way, I didn't mention that. If you decide to geoclaim, you just sacrifice whatever you've geoclaimed. So there were some people that saw the new feature come in and go, oh, I'm going to put 23,000 on this 25-mile square. Well, that 23,000 XYO you just put down is gone. You're not getting it back. So some people have complained about that. They said, well, maybe to make this better, we should give 50% of that back to people. What's happening with that anyway? And we'll dive into that a little more when I get to my next bit off the spreadsheet. So I've taken this same chart and enhanced it a little bit more with if that 50% gets paid back out. So we'll start with the 100, 1,000, 100 again. And in this case, right off the bat, we're ahead. But what we really need to look at is, what is XYO getting out of this? What is their reward? If we really look at what the coin app is, it's a reward to miners for running their software. It is a form of crypto mining, geo mining, but totally different in the sense of a Bitcoin or an Ethereum or a Litecoin miner. Those are all very, very different systems. Thank you, Thomas. Thomas here in the chat is saying running coin is only a good idea to do if you're an Uber or pizza delivery driver. I disagree. I would maybe agree that the paid options are only really valuable to people that drive for a living. And I'll explain more when it gets down a little bit further down the chain. But what I was saying here is the whole return on investment for coin, for the XY, the persistent company, this is built around the idea that they're buying your data. What's really happening when you're running the COIN app is your phone is taking a snapshot of your current GPS location and any XYO enabled devices. Currently that would be Sentinels or devices running the XYO Network app. It takes a snapshot of those devices that are around you, coordinates them with a GPS location, and zaps that information to their servers. Currently, we're still in the early stages. I mean, the app is only a few months old, if I remember. I think they launched the app in like February or March. I could be a little off on that timeline. The data they're receiving isn't connected to explore.xyo and the matrix and the XYO network as we know it, which is now Ari's side, and Scott's side is COIN. That was an announcement this week as well, that they're kind of putting Scott in behind COIN, which I think is probably a smart move, because that's the type of app that you can use a hype train to get more users, and the people that are really interested in the XYO network, I think they want a little bit more techie talk, and Ari really is the right guy to be doing that. So if any of you XYO guys are watching, I favor this move. I think it's a good move from a PR perspective, and it gives me some good confidence that you guys are taking those steps, because I think it's the right people in the right place at this point in time. In the future, once we have devices to sell, I think putting Scott back into that position might be worthwhile, but at this point we need our tech people to talk to tech people, and I think that's the way you've moved, and I think that's the right idea. Anyways, off that soapbox. So if XYO were to put 50% of these payments back to the payout community, well, now we have a little bit of a concern with overpayment, right? Because everybody's getting a share. So my gross of 150 is the same as the gross of 150 for the other guy, and now the total payout is 300 when we only collected 200 plus the 10% of mining rewards here, if that makes sense. The other thing is looking at it from an economy's perspective, and I wrote this back in the Reddit post, which again I'll go ahead and I'll try to link to after I'm done here, but I made this statement right here. The game isn't guessing the value of 0.1 TW, how much P is worth to buy it. The players can also influence this by mining more frequently. So if you buy an area, you should absolutely be mining in that area and getting that pool up. I didn't write that on this one. It was a different Reddit post, so never mind. We'll skip the Reddit post. Basically, what I went into is you got to look at the current state of the XYO network and the XYO token exchange as a currency system, because people are trading it and speculating on it, and a lot of the people that don't like them right now only care about the value of their speculative asset, which is in its infancy. There's no reason why the value of that asset should be high right now until there's more stuff to deliver. So in this economic system, we have about 78%, I think, of all of the tokens that could possibly exist out in the wild. Some of that, well, probably most of that largely due to the sale of tokens, the founding hodlers registry. A lot of that is being given out to Coin Plus and Coin Pro members. A lot of it is being given out as rewards to COIN app users. But there's the other 22% or so that is still in what the XYO company calls the crypto economic reserve. So this was meant to incentivize people to adapt the network and to get things rolling. And of course, you know, there's some back-end testing that needs to happen, so I'm sure that they're spending some of this reserve to use data for testing and all those good things. I made a video a while back, and I don't think I linked to this one, and I said, guys, COIN is not mining. And I take that back. That is no longer a statement that I believe in. Running coin is geomining. What it isn't is generating value in the pure sense that XYO was designed in my eyes. The way that you really get paid on the XYO network is providing data that somebody chooses to pay for. Right now, the person choosing to pay for the data you provide in the COIN app is XY, the persistent company. They're incentivizing us to build the network and provide data, and at this point, they're saying all data is valuable. It may only be worth 0.01, but all data is valuable if you are connecting and contributing. I get it. It's a good move. I like this. The concern is, how long is it going to take before the network is big enough for other consumers or business entities to want to pay for the information that could be provided by the network? So at some point in time, rewards would either have to decline, or that pool is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And at some point, and granted, I mean, we're talking billions of coins here, right? So we've got a long way to go. But at some point, that pool will run itself dry. So when we start talking about the economics practice here, you have to think of the XY company as almost the Federal Reserve System of the XYO token. And what does the Federal Reserve really do? Well, they set interest rates, and they set, I think it's called the reserve rate, basically how much money a bank has to have relative to how much it lends out. I think right now it's something like 8 to 1 or something like that, where for every dollar that the bank has, they can lend it out 8 times, and then prime rate is calculated against that. So the Federal Reserve System can say, hey, we're going to make loans more expensive, and that's going to slow down the growth and, you know, kind of constrain the money supply. Or, hey, we're going to make money really cheap. We're going to allow anybody that wants a loan to have it, and, you know, there's going to be all kinds of money floating around the world. XYO has that same power, and I'm not sure that most people realize the gravity that comes with that. Today, as I said, we're in the early stages of the system. There's no good reason for anybody to feel that the XYO token is worth much other than speculation, other than, well, it's worth this much now because in the future it's going to be worth so much more. And I'm playing that game. I believe that. I believe the token price is going to soar once we have an established network with a lot of people. However, I don't believe it enough to be sticking thousands of dollars into it. I'm doing a little bit of coin mining. I bought 2 Sentinels, which I wanted to do Sentinel sharing, but then I'm like, oh, I got to build a bridge, and I haven't done it. It's not a priority to me. It's going to cost me another 35 or 40 bucks to build a bridge, and you know, for what? A couple thousand XYO that I'm going to get with shared mining if I find someone that actively does it. So I'm kind of soapboxing again. Let's get back on track here. The whole idea of having this feature comes down to the theory of economic control. Since they hold all the XYO and we don't, they can create what's called a faucet, which releases tokens to the global economy that they don't control. And that's what they've done with the COIN app. They are releasing to the public and not requiring them to pay for it. Here's some free stuff, go use it, right? Well, again, that's useless until there's something to spend it on. So they have now created 2 things. We're looking on the screen here at explore.xyo.network. That's one place where you'll be able to spend in the near future. The other place you can spend is on this aspect. I look at coin as a game. It's a fun thing to play, right? And buying these geo tiles, doing the geoclaims is a fun little thing to do to kind of make the game more fun, because just driving around and collecting isn't necessarily fun unless you hit a huge or big geomine. Now, if we take that to the next step and we're investing in a piece of land and we get a payout, great. So that fee goes back to the XY company, allows them to continue operating, refills the crypto economic reserve coffer, and allows us to continue to be self-sufficient in coin. I think that's the long-term goal. Because if you look at a non-subscriber, boy, I just had an idea. But if you look at a non-subscriber who's just using the coin app with their Sentinel or even without their Sentinel, that could possibly be self-sustaining from the losses by the Geoclaim users. Now, the spark that just hit my mind, wouldn't it be cool if the whole app could be self-sustaining and the only XYO that gets added to the coin ecosystem is that which is paid for through subscriptions? That would be exciting and a fun economic experiment to see how well that would work, because I think the last release said there were like 2,000-3,000 users. I don't know. It was a big number. There's a lot more people paying for coin than I would justify or expect. But hey, a lot of people got a lot of things going on, and Coin Plus isn't right for me. Maybe it is for you. So, to go to my spreadsheet, it's not a big deal to say, oh, I've paid, $200 for this tile and somebody else paid $700, and we can play with this number and find where the break-even point is. 55. No, wow. I mean, in this example, I would be coming out way ahead because the other guy outbid me by so much. And that would just be reducing the amount of reclaim that Coin App makes to refill its payout coffers. If you've ever done any study into casino gambling, like slot machines, those things are pre-programmed to pay out. A lot of times they're set between 89 and 95% of the money that goes in gets paid out. But even on a 99% slot machine, if there's a big jackpot, a lot of people got to lose to make it up, right? And I think that that's kind of where this is going. We can't give the fee back to the miners, because in this case, the dude that paid 700 is going to have a loss, and the dude that paid 200 is going to have a win. That just doesn't seem fair. I mean, even if we had 100 mined here, that doesn't make any impact. It's 2.2, right? Whatever. Throw that away. So, let's move on down the line here. I have some notes for things I wanted to talk about. Oh, yeah, so a couple of conversations. And this goes back to where I started our video today on Twitter. So, the first one, I'll go to this Tiger conversation. So, Tiger, put in 300. My reward is 45. There's a chance I might break even by Sunday, but it's only half a week. Buy on Monday to get the most benefit. At this point, I was still working with my assumption after reading the Q&A, or the FAQ in the app. So I said it doesn't really matter when you buy, as you don't know how much others have put out at that point. All of the buys are for the same pool regardless of how early you got in. And she says, not true. Campaigns run Monday to Sunday. If you put 100 in on Saturday, you only have 1 day to earn rewards. If you do it Monday morning, you get 7 days for the same price. Okay, that was unclear to me just reading the XYO documentation. Since this happened, XYO has released a video explaining how Coin App works, and Tiger's absolutely right. That is unquestionably accurate, and I am very wrong on that statement. And I said here, aren't all the investors playing for the same pool? Because in my mind, after reading the documentation, I thought we were essentially buying a lottery ticket. So when I log into the app now, I own 7% of my home area. I thought there was one big pool getting built up, and I owned 7% of the lottery tickets. And at 2400 UTC time on Sunday, they were going to draw a number, and I've got a 7% chance of being the winner. That is not the case, and that makes all this spreadsheet stuff useless. Because what really happens, as explained by Tiger and then later verified by XYO, the Coin App, what really happens is you currently own 100%. Somebody geomines 1 XYO. You earn 0.1 XYO. Somebody else invests. Now you only own 50%. Another person mines 1 XYO. You get 0.05 XYO. So you go, oh, my returns went down. Let's invest more. So you invest, let's just say another 900. So now you own 90%. And the other guy still owns his 10% with his 100 investment. Somebody in the area mines gets 1 XYO, you get 0.09. See, the thing is, it's a very dynamic and constantly changing payout system. It's very, very difficult to take this formula written here and figure out if there's really a good return, because you cannot do anything to control W. W is in constant flux, and this formula is running on every transaction on the network all the time. Anybody in your 25-mile square, every time they mine, this formula gets run and you get paid out on the current values. That makes it nearly impossible to calculate. Now, I'm not saying this to say that you can't have a positive return. I think you definitely can, and there are plenty of people on Twitter sharing their positive return experiences, or on the Reddit thread there are people sharing their experiences. It's the game of knowing how many people are going to invest, how much is worth paying, and if enough mining is going to happen to make it worthwhile. So, again, I think it's a super interesting, super exciting to play with, but I wouldn't shove a ton in it quite yet unless you know, similar to me, don't think that there's a huge value to the token itself today. The value to the token is the potential value. It has potential to go huge. I could totally see a day where we're talking $1 per XYO. I absolutely think that's a real possibility. At that point, the coin app probably isn't going to be paying you 1 XYO every 30 to 60 seconds, right? That just doesn't make sense. But to have, you know, all of these Sentinels and bridges and phones out there, and, you know, when we get to the point where, you know, and this is a pipe dream, but when we get to the point where FedEx and UPS and DHL and Speedy Delivery and the USPS and Royal Mail, and they all decide, we're done and we don't want to maintain our servers anymore, let's just use this XY thing that these guys made. There will be money in the system. There absolutely will. I see it even, like, all those names I just mentioned, I don't even think those are going to be the early adopters. I think really it's going to be the trucking and the freight industry. I think it's going to be the fuel management industry. I think it's going to be, you know, geological survey. Self-driving cars would be awesome to carry this kind of technology. And that's where the real money is going to be. Coin today is fun, but in the long run is not going to be where you're going to make the most money. I do not believe for an instant that this fun little toy that they've come up with is going to be the core. Now, what it is going to do is it's going to encourage growth of users and get people on board, and that's great. So if at some point, you know, coin incentivize Sentinel ownership, absolutely. And there's a lot of speculation out there that the Sentinel is going to change, and right now they're trying to move old inventory before they release the new thing. I agree. That makes sense. But if we have, let's say, 2 million Sentinels around the United States, for instance, now we have a network that might be, you know, valuable for, let's say, private shipping. There's or warehouse management. So yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, let's see what you said here, Scott. How would it mine? It seems like an old hardware turned into a geomining device, but it really just shows you brought into the system. There's no way it can know what's around it. We would need Google cameras on our cars. Okay, so I made a video a little while back, and there's a card that I can't even point to the corner because of the way I have this weird box around me. Sorry. Everything I know about XYO. Now, there's a lot of stuff in there that's not accurate. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in on how we truly create value by building the mesh network that could be the XYO network. I don't know if I can really do this. Okay, you have a maximum of 3 miners in your area. The square is claimed by 10 people. Is it possible XY is adding owners the way eBay sellers add bids? Possible, yes. Do I believe that it's happening? No. I think what's more likely is somebody like me or Bull Shipley or XGeo Hacker, the people that are into this that are traveling a lot, as they drive through areas, are probably making a quick buy to test the waters and see how those areas return. Like I live in Green Bay. I'm in Green Bay right now. I'm actually at my office. And I go down to Milwaukee, Chicago, and occasionally up north into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I would say once a month I'm in one of those 3 locations. Next month I'll be down in the Madison, and a couple months I'll be in La Crosse, Eau Claire. So as I'm traveling through these different 24-mile zones, just throw 100 on each of them and see what happens if you've got the money to roll. So the thanks, Tom. The whole concern about adding illegitimate people to the purchase process, I don't see that there's enough incentive for the XY company to be doing that. It's a shady thing for sure, but I don't know what their benefit would be other than maybe convincing us that there are more people using the system than there should be. It's eye-opening to me, though, to think about how big a 25-mile space is, because I was driving home one day, and I have a 12-mile commute. It's not even 12 miles, but it feels like 12 miles. It's about 15 minutes through the city. And I take the main road, Webster Avenue. Actually, if you go to the map and you look at Green Bay, you'll see everywhere that's important to me, because you'll see my little dots on the map. But as I'm driving home, I'm about to cross Highway 172 on Webster Street, and I can see other tiles that have been mined. And I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. And then I hit one tile that was not mined, that had 2 tiles around it that were mined by this other vehicle. And the payout on it was huge. It wasn't big enough to trigger the big geomine thing where, hey, you just unlocked 983. And but it was like 23 as a basic user with 1 Sentinel in the vehicle with me. Like, it was a sizable increase from my average 0.31 that I draw on every other tile. All of a sudden I had 23. And I think it's because the system on the back end could verify that he was legitimate, because I was also giving a similar, close, legitimate answer. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense there. Let me go back to how the network really builds value. So the first thought is package delivery, right? You want to track the delivery of an object. Well, Sentinel over here has seen the package, and Sentinel over here has seen the package. But as you pointed out, the Sentinels have no way of knowing where they are. So what the COIN app does is it provides a GPS and a Sentinel name and locks them together at a certain timestamp. So at 1 o'clock, COIN reported that Sentinel X was at Lambeau Field, and at 1:15, COIN app verified that Sentinel X was across the street from Lambeau Field at Kroll's restaurant. And in that 15-minute time span, you met 25 other objects. So based on those 2 locations and timestamps, we have a good idea, not a precise answer, but a good idea of where all those other 25 devices were. Then if we go back to our COIN app information again, and we look for other GPS answers for those other 25 devices, you know, in this example, let's just pretend there's 50 stamps now, all with GPS location. We can get a pretty good idea of a cloud of where each of those devices were based on where they say they were and where their friends were and how close those timestamps were together. So, as I've said in other videos, the real power of the XYO network isn't so much an absolute location, it's more about relative location, which in my eyes, at most points, is much more valuable. Like the car navigation system, you know, the GPS as we know it for navigation, yes, it's absolutely valuable. There's lots of people using it. I don't think COIN is a good, or sorry, not COIN, I'm confusing things here. I don't think that XYO is a good permanent solution for that until we're to the point where every light bulb in every street pole and every stripe on every road is somehow XYO enabled. That's going to have to be a thing if we're trying to replace in-car navigation. But what's really valuable about location awareness is I have a forklift with a pallet full of MacBooks. You know, it's $100,000 worth of MacBook Pros. Hell, if I'm talking MacBook Pros, it's, you know, $500,000 worth of MacBook Pros on one pallet. And I put it on a shelf in a warehouse, and now I need to find that, right? That's a much smaller scale problem, but XYO handles it a way that GPS never could, right? GPS knows that it's in the warehouse, but you've got a roof over the top, it's not going to work. And we're relying on that pallet that has the GPS receiver in it to have not been tampered with and to be providing good information. A lot of people don't remember this. GPS is reliant on the client being honest, right? GPS is a bunch of satellites telling me what time it is, and then me calculating the inaccuracies between the different satellites to figure out where I am. It's up to me to do the math right for GPS to work. So that's why they're talking about replacing GPS, because it's very easy to cheat the system because it's on the honesty of the user to report accuracy. Now the XYO network, yeah, we're using GPS information because that's how we've gotten this world built. But because we have multiple users meeting each other with their own sets of data, the diviner layer can start to look at people and go, well, this guy's GPS number never matches up to the other guy's GPS number. And the system will automatically eliminate and work out the people who are known bad actors. So that's where the value comes in, right? So to get paid, let's pretend that COIN never existed. To get paid, what has to happen is somebody has to find value in the data you're providing. So let's say I ordered a new refrigerator on Amazon and it's shipping to me. And let's say it's not with a major carrier, it's with Joe Schmo Trucking Company that's going to get it from Chicago to my house. I could ask the company to put a Sentinel in the refrigerator before they ship it to me. The shipping company would never even know that the package is tracked. And we would have this peer-to-peer network of people who know Sentinel to Sentinel, we bumped into each other. And then thanks to COIN app, and also the XYO Network app, we know a recently known location for those other Sentinels. So we can follow the trail of who I met and where they were when I met them to approximate the location of the refrigerator. Now, do I really care where my refrigerator was at 2:15 and 12 seconds on Tuesday? No. I care that it was on the way to me. What I really care about is that I didn't pay the bill until it got to my house, right? So the big picture that I see working the best is for people that want to use XY data to have their own Sentinel on their shipping and their receiving areas. Like, if you're going to invest in one of those camera doorbell combos that lets the Amazon delivery driver into your house to drop the package off, I think it's safer to have a Sentinel to verify that it's seen the package it should have seen. That's just me. I mean, now that's where I see big potential for this to make some money, right? Because I'm going to say, well, tracking this package is worth $3 to me. That's low for a lot of industrial shipments, right? But getting that refrigerator to my house, knowing where it is, it's worth $3. So everybody that contributes data to answering my question gets a cut of the $3, as well as all of the archivists and all the diviners involved. And that's the meat of the system. But to bring COIN in, COIN is the way of getting people interested and getting them to find out and getting them to start to learn. Hopefully finding my videos and finding, you know, the Reddit channel and the geohackers forums and reading on Twitter, there's so much good information out there from so many good people. But the problem that I had, and my little soapbox moment about Scott Shepard earlier, I think a lot of people got interested without getting properly informed. And the community is working on that. You know, if you look at what XYO has for potential in the future, it's huge, and you have to be excited about it. I mean, it could change the world as we know it. But there's a lot of people that got in it thinking they're going to make money. And yeah, you could, but that's not really what it's about. It's about this better way of tracking location, better way of building new technologies to move forward. Like I said, self-driving cars. Hey, you know, Tesla knows you've been at a supercharger because you plugged in and they communicate, right? There's a lot of things that aren't smart enough for that. You know, we could make it so that you go up to a gas station and you swipe your credit card currently, right? But it could just be a chip near your gas tank and a chip near the gas pump that knows who's who, and they just take the XYO balance out of the Sentinel for the gas that you've used. You know, there's all kinds of cool things that could come from two devices being able to talk to each other and those devices having an intrinsic currency value assigned to them. In fact, and I'll catch up on chat in a minute here. I know I've been rambling for a while. Video's been a little longer than I intended to, but I've got time, so let's keep going. If you go into Explore, you know, if you haven't been there, I highly recommend you do explore.xyo.network. I'm not going to log in because I don't want you to see all of my personal information. But there is a new little field that I just noticed. When you click on your Sentinel, it'll show you the image, and it'll have the address and all that stuff. There's a little field that says payments pending. It's kind of a big deal. It means that the network is keeping track of Sentinel data that is useful and getting paid for, and there's a kickback coming, and the withdrawal isn't available yet. But that's really exciting to see that there's some valuable data valued by Explore, and it's not just coin paying out. All right, let me see if I've thoroughly confused everyone or if I've made any stupid mistakes at this point. Company's been changing their game plan from the get-go. I fell for the Zill scam too. I hope they all moon. Okay. So the creeping into Google Maps, Sentinels breaking. You're talking about a lot there, Tom. So the Sentinels breaking is a real issue, and they kind of admitted it. People that were receiving Sentinels in the mail and not functioning within a month, they were sending out free battery replacements for a while. I believe they're still doing that. If you go to the support email address, I think it's support@xyo.network, or just go to xyo.network and look for the support link. There are two, let's say three, big problems with the current generation of Sentinel X devices. The first issue is battery life itself. We were originally sold the idea that these batteries were going to last over a year. This is similar to other competitors in the Find It market, such as Tile. Tile, they wouldn't even let you change your batteries, so you'd spend $40 to buy a Tile. A year later, you'd ship them the dead one, they'd ship you a new one for $30. Kind of a joke. I want to move away from their system. My wife has her keys on a Tile because she's a habitual key loser. But yeah, so the retile program is kind of sucky. The battery is shipping out bad. That's a problem. And the bigger problem, because they used CR3032s, I can't find a reliable, affordable source. I just found yesterday on Amazon a 3-pack. I want to say it was $12 of Panasonic brand or $8 of some unknown brand. I actually ordered a 6-pack of an unknown brand, and that came, and they were all crap. You know it's bad when you walk into your local Batteries Plus and they've never heard of the battery you're asking for. So that was probably a misstep on design. I haven't seen it in a while, but probably 3 months ago there was somebody on the Reddit forums selling an adapter piece you could put inside of the Sentinel that would allow it to take a a 2032. The claims were that they worked. I remember there being some complaint about copyright, that somebody else started ripping it off and selling them. I have not tried it. I'm a little concerned to try it, to be honest. But if it works, it might be cool, because 2032s are all over the place. 3032s are expensive and hard to find. The second problem with the design is it's almost a little too simplistic on the inside, and I think they did that to kind of protect the device. They were using some chipsets, and they don't want people digging in and finding out exactly what's in there. But it also causes an issue where the top cover doesn't put enough downward pressure on the battery to keep the contacts in place. So one thing I tried doing was to kind of get under the metal contact and bend it up with like a knife or something. Don't do that. It's a dumb idea. You will weaken the material of the metal and possibly break it. Also, the better solution is to just put some kind of tape or foam or something on the top cover. That's actually what they've started doing before they ship them out. The one that I bought most recently, they put like a little foam rubber on the top lid of the Sentinel to help keep that battery pressed down on the contacts. What did work for me really well until the next time I opened the Sentinel is a solution called Cramaline. I'm not very familiar with this, but some of the guys I work with that are electronics repair guys, it's like this liquid metal kind of thing. It's like flux almost, and you put that on the metal contacts, and what it does at the molecular level is it fills in the gaps in the metal to make the current flow better. Essentially what ends up happening is the Sentinel stays connected longer and doesn't seem to die and reactivate and beep and die and beep, and it tends to it's not like physically gluing. It's not like it's stuck better, but the connection is more reliable, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain without showing you, and I don't have any here at this building. But Cramaline helped a lot. Knowing that you have good batteries helps a lot. I can't even find a spec book, and honestly, I didn't look that hard, but I can't find a spec book for how CR3032s are supposed to come to me. If you hook up a multimeter to it, it needs to be above 3 volts, and like 3.12 was one of my batteries, and then another one was at like 3.01, and that one wouldn't work. So that's concerning, the battery side. The third issue that I have is the cover. I'll show you mine. So I have 2 on here. This one has no battery in it, and this one does, but if you can see, I've had to tape it all up because this is the first one that I've used, and it's probably been opened a dozen times for the sake of examples to people and battery changes and whatever else. It works, but I keep it taped up to keep it together. I think that these devices are going to be going away probably sooner than later. It really comes down to when they sell their stock. And the way companies do manufacturing projects like that, they're going to order 1 million of these at once, put them in a warehouse, sell through those million, and then they'll order the next thing. Because honestly, most companies don't manufacture their own electronics, right? There's a contract company in China. This is what Alibaba is made for. Is, hey, I want this made. Give me the cheapest price to build it, and build me as many as you can. That's how these were made. I'm sure they haven't said it, but I'm sure these are how they were made. There's a manufacturing plant in China that went through a whole bunch of them. So when the next firmware revision comes out, when the next hardware revision comes out, I expect them to be smaller. I would be surprised if they didn't have integrated, potentially rechargeable batteries. And I would hope that that battery life is a little bit longer. Yeah, 3 dead Sentinels, batteries are all good. That's interesting. That is interesting. 2 layers of paper, was that really enough thickness to add? Red battery terminal prep. That, I think that is Kremlin, actually. Battery terminal prep and Kremlin, I think, are the same thing. I could be very wrong on that, though. Don't quote me. Well, you can quote me, but whatever. Yeah. So does the payment pending work? Yes and no. Okay, so you said that a while ago, and I think that at the time I was talking about payments pending in explore.xyo.network. No, there is no withdrawal process yet. It says it right on the screen. It very clearly marks XYO beta on the top of the page, so nobody should trust anything they see there or expect anything to work 100%. But payments pending on the Coin app absolutely do work. I have cashed out, I want to say I'm about 70,000. I can tell you, but I'm not going to show you in my other browser window off screen. I will bring it up here. So for those of you that haven't done any cashing out yet from the Coin app, I've been using MetaMask and it works fantastic. Hopefully you can't decipher my password based on the keystrokes. Yeah, so my current XYO balance is around 52,000, and all of that is from the Coin app. I do believe I still have some stakes hanging out in the matrix that I tried to recall and had issues with, but I'm not too worried about that. Wait, what do you see? Joseph, what are you seeing? No. No, I need to go back and make sure that you weren't seeing my private key. Oh, if I just doxed myself, I'm going to be so pissed. No, I'm good. You scared me. You scared me a lot. So yeah, the other thing I've looked into with the Sentinels on the battery issue, I don't understand electricity enough to know for sure, but a friend said, oh, that's 3 volts. Lithium 123 batteries are also 3 volts, and they're very common because they get used in like garage door openers. And I looked, and yeah, I've seen them everywhere, but I'm a little concerned to just try and hook it up. So a 123 looks like a tiny C battery. I don't really have one here. I can pull one up here. See, that's what I'm talking about. It just tells me it died out of nowhere. Like, why? Yeah, so here, this would be a very affordable option, the Duracell 123. You know, this is maybe 1 inch in length. So to hook that up externally with a wire from the cap here to the Sentinel, it might be worth some testing, but I'm going to do it on a device that I don't mind losing, if you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, this was a fun conversation with Tiger. Kind of opened my eyes to the thought that I might not be accurate. Here's a few messages that I sent to Coin and to Scott Shepper, and then I'm going to wrap up this stream because I do need to get moving on with my day soon. But a 3-part Twitter exchange. Scott, looking for a little extra clarity with how rewards are decided in Coin with us. What is the order of operations? Are all mining rewards now 20% lower to fund shared Sentinels and Geoclaims, or is an additional 20% being awarded to fund those two? Not that it matters all that much, but I see some people complaining. I've also heard that some of the spending of 100 should be pumped back into the payback for Geoclaims. I disagree. To me, this is a fun little drain game, and I said this to you guys earlier. Now, backing up on that point before I go on to number 3. I still don't have clarity on this, and I don't know how much I care. But is it somebody earned 1 coin, so 0.1 coin goes to Sentinel share owner and 0.1 goes to Geoclaim owner? Or is it you just earned 1, you get to keep 0.8, and 0.1 goes to here and 0.1 goes to there? It's a very minor difference, but it's a difference that, like I said, the people that aren't thinking big picture and caring about the long-term process, they care about. And to me, transparency is the best way to earn trust. Just tell us exactly how you're doing the math, and no one has the right to complain anymore. It's if it's transparent, and if it's the way people don't like, well, then they can complain that they don't like the way you're doing it. But right now, they're complaining because they don't know. So just tell us everything you got, and then we either complain about the truth, we don't complain about our speculation. And that's kind of the same way I felt about geoclaiming at first. Like, I bought in, I go, oh, let's read the FAQ, and then I go through and I'm like, oh, I'm never getting that money back. Oh, shoot. Well, it would have been nice to have, like, so you know, make it a little bit more obvious to the user what it is that they're doing. I don't fault you. I only put 500 out there. It's not a big deal. Okay. Part 3. And this is my bigger concern and the bigger point that I want to talk about. I am concerned that since XYO has a cash value, the app could get flagged as gambling, which affects not only the legality of its usage, but the inclusion in the app stores. This could be a serious issue. Think about it. I'm very, 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 very worried about this because I do see coin as a growth area, and I do see it as a good way to get people introduced to the network and start thinking about it. But if Coin App goes away because the app stores don't want to carry it because it's a gambling tool, we've got a bigger problem. So I think that really needs to get addressed really fast. And I think that they might be able to skate by because you can't make a deposit into the Coin App. Like, I can kind of justify, well, you never had money involved, so what you're risking is points in a game. Like, you can kind of slide by that way. But the moment that I can go to the app and deposit XYO, spend the XYO on a game of chance, and may or may not get rewarded on that spend. Okay, we're still kind of loosey-goosey there because what is this XYO stuff? The minute that I can make an in-app purchase of 99 cents worth of XYO and put it on a tile and may or may not have more XYO to walk away with at the end, and I can withdraw that XYO, this is absolutely gambling, and you will not ever convince me otherwise, right? I would dance very, very, very lightly on geoclaiming because, yeah, I mean, step one is the problem of the app stores just choosing not to carry your app. I mean, you can still get around that because people can install apps that aren't in app stores. It's just a pain, and it's really hard to get found, and you don't want to go down that route if your purpose is to get new users, right? The second concern is the legal basis of it. You know, gambling is an 18-plus thing. Different cities, different states, different municipalities have different rules about gambling. Like where I live here in Green Bay, gambling is illegal. I go, 50 miles that way, and there's an Indian reservation with a casino, a huge casino, massive casino. And I can play anything I want to there because it's a casino. And they have a gaming license. If anybody bigger than me starts using the word gambling, shut down the feature and move on fast. Fast. Because, see, you're on the right track there, Joseph. People are currently paying for a random number of tokens to be deposited into their account. I'm concerned. I'm legitimately concerned. And I can't find. Oh, I'm trying to mouse on the computer that it doesn't have a mouse. Ah, sorry. Let me get back to organized here. I'm very concerned about the longevity of the app with this. If anybody were to go to the App Store and click the button to report the app, I think that both Google and Apple would take a serious look at it and consider it. Right now, they're probably just flying under the radar. Right now, you could make the justification that the Coin app is a wallet. But now that the wallet has a game that you're spending and then winning, I personally don't have an issue with gambling or a moral problem with gambling. I've played a lot of games in my life. I own a 3-reel slot machine in my basement that I've converted to take tokens instead of quarters because I didn't want to have to deal with keeping money sitting in it. But as Joseph said, right now you've got people paying, what is it, $25 a month for a guaranteed payout of tokens. And now they're allowed to risk those tokens for the chance to win more tokens. I'm worried about this. I really am. This could take the whole thing down. So anyways, I'll stick around for a couple more minutes if anybody has anything else in the chat. I want to thank everybody that did tune in today because this is a whole lot more fun to do when I know that people are at least listening, whether or not they're. Well, let's rephrase that. Know that people are hearing what I'm saying. I don't know if you're really listening. And also, as I said in the very beginning, I don't necessarily know that I'm right. I could be wrong on a lot of the things I'm saying. But I enjoy sharing my opinions, and it's really easy to do in a live mode because then I never go to editing hell and like videos end up not getting released. So yeah, I've done an hour and 10 minutes already, guys. I think I'm gonna let you go and move on and see what my real life looks like. I know I have to couple on. So you guys take care. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Kill it in some states. But see, that's the problem. If we kill the app in some states, well, now our mesh network has a big hole in the middle, right? Because, well, the XYO network can exist without coin. I don't think coin can exist without the XYO network. And I said a while ago, the important thing, and I understand this is going to take time, right? This is going to be a big deal, and it's going to take some time. But the important thing in my eyes about coin is that at some time in the future, every coin transaction is a bound witness. If we get to that point, now Explore is going to look a lot better, staking is going to make a lot more sense, and finding businesses to buy our data is going to happen. But the Coin app being separated from the rest of the network, that's concerning to me. Like I shouldn't say concerning, but it's squandering the value you could be providing, right? So yeah, I don't know, Joseph. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's no longer about data, it's a moneymaker now. I hear what you're saying, but I don't think it's making that much money. Like, so I don't know Scott or Ari personally. Ari has tweeted at me once. Coin app has responded to a couple of my Twitter messages. Scott has shouted me out once on a live stream. I've never met them. I've never had a conversation with them. There was a video that Scott did at one point, and one of the questions that came up in chat is, Scott, are you a millionaire? And he's like, yeah, I am. What does it matter to you? Right? And I think Ari's kind of in the same boat. You know, people have gone back and looked at his history, and he wrote some malware program, and, you know, he has to pay back taxes and whatever. But you don't get hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars or whatever it is in back taxes without making, 80% of that money. You know what I mean? You don't owe taxes unless you've earned the money, right? And if they're charging you the taxes, obviously the way you earned the money was legal or went through some kind of a scrubbing system to make it legal. So, the past be damned. Maybe he did some things that were ethically not the greatest, right? People do that. It happens. I think when you really look at what XYO is sold as, there is a greater good element to it. The guy running it may have had, software he made used as malware. Yeah, I don't think that that's a great thing. However, he's obviously pretty smart to make something that made it through all of the other, anti-spy, anti-mal, anti-whatever else, right? So, to say that XYO is not about data, it's about money, you're kind of right, because data is money. We live in an era today where, you've got websites like Wikipedia and WikiLinks, and you've got all the news outlets, and all of those things are funded by advertisers. And what do advertisers want? They want views and eyeballs and share of mind, right? That's really the word that gets taken, is share of mind. To say that it's about money, $35 per user per month times, what was it, 2,000 users? Do you have that statistic handy? I know it was released not that long ago. But these guys don't care about $30,000 a month to their personal checking account. That's not the lifestyle they're in. I mean, sure, yes, money is good and you want more, and that's great. But they've got employees to pay at the warehouse. They've got rent for, I think it was 3 or 4 different office and warehouse locations. There's travel expenses to go to the conferences that they're speaking at and that they're, meeting people at. There's partnership deals that they're working on. It takes money to make money. So for them to be charging $35 a user a month, it's definitely not worth it to me. But if it's worth it to somebody, then so be it. The company's got to have something to survive on, right? If they would have done what I initially thought they should and just sold off all of the crypto economic reserve, there would be nothing to grow the user base with. And I said it a long time ago, it's a chicken and egg problem. How do you get enough data to make people want to buy it if you don't have people buying the data to make them want to create the data? So I disagree. I hear what you're saying, but I disagree. I think it is still about data, but the data is the money, right? You don't get the money without the data. Selling these guys for $12, right? I mean, or giving these things away free for $12 in shipping is not making anybody rich. And if you think it is, I would love to sell you some pet rocks I've got too, because it takes money to build these. Maybe they were only built for $4 or $5 a piece, but then they were shipped from China, they were warehoused, they were packed by a guy and shipped to your house. I don't think $12 a piece on these is a ridiculous amount of profit. They're making some money, don't get me wrong, they're making some money. But when you think about the cost of doing the work, and the cost of holding, and the cost of shipping, and all these other costs, it's definitely not a free product that they're making a $12 profit on. I just don't buy that. Now, the paying for Coin App, yeah, that is them making money. We need efforts to sell the data and collect it. I agree. And that's where we're trying to get. So XYO Explore, if you dig into XYO Explore, there are these queries you can run, and I think I can do a couple without having to log in here. Yeah, you can even see one of my devices even though I'm not logged in. Right there, there's that pending XYO. Rewards, what did it say? Rewards beta. Rewards are not finalized. This number is subject to change. Withdraw not yet available. But this means to me somebody has paid for the data. And now you have one of my public keys, which I guess that's not that big of a deal. But, you know, if we go back and we look at the most recent blocks across the network, you know, we had a dip here that's probably a network outage. We can't have times like that once the system goes live. That's going to be a problem. What else do we have here? Sorry. It's been a little while since I've been on here. 332.3, or is that a... It looks like a decimal point to me, but it's probably a comma. Ari's from South Africa, isn't he? Or New Zealand or something. So, yeah, that's probably a comma period. But, yeah, as you see those heat map areas growing, I think this might be the kind of data we need to start package tracking on the east side of the United States. But there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of open spaces. So I think the first best client for them is going to be someone like Amazon, who has these automated fulfillment centers where a machine takes a book off of a pile, puts it into a plastic tote, and the plastic tote goes down the line collecting books. Like, that's the area where, you know, XYO has the opportunity to shine if the transactions are fast enough, if they can secure their data. And then, you know, here's the other thing. We talk about the data lakes versus the data oceans. I don't know how much you've heard that term. The data ocean is what we're seeing right here. A data lake is this building has a private XYO network and it's completely self-sufficient and nobody else needs to see the data, right? That's where XYO is going to make money as a company, right? And then once that data lake bit of information leaves the building, now they're going to follow it into the data ocean, and that's where the geominers get paid. So, so I'm just catching up with what you said here. They keep doing things that could have been more data friendly, but instead are driven by costs. Imagine if the latest feature let us start our ownership on a tile on any day. I think, so I agree with you. I think the decision to have a week-long period that starts on a Monday and ends on a Sunday is built around the community element so that people could compete, right? So me and my buddy can take turns trying to outbuy each other in our 25-mile square that we both live within. I don't see... So the other problem I have with claiming geoclaims, I don't see how that adds useful data to the system other than encouraging more people to run coin. The fact of the matter is, every time somebody hits the pickaxe or an auto miner is triggered within coin, we are providing valuable data back to XYO, and they are choosing to pay for it. And I got an admission. Do I still have that tweet open? Let's go back here. So in my first of 3 tweets where I asked for greater transparency, Coin did reply. The tiles around the globe are valued based on perceived value from the person or entity dropping digital assets. For example, an XYO token geomine has XYO's perceived value of that data. There are dozens of variables that determine the value of a spot on the coin map. Okay, and it's proprietary, and I respect that. But this is where I mentioned I got a huge payout when I came close to another user. I'm assuming the server had a reason to give me more value for that mine. Makes sense. I verified somebody else's location right around the same time they were in the area. In fact, I don't even know. Maybe my phone's Bluetooth and the other phone's Bluetooth saw each other as Sentinels in that geomine, and that's why it was worth so much. So, to wrap that all around, back to your point about, you know, starting it on any day, then we have people expiring and we have people joining, and it doesn't seem to be a community effort anymore. Like, if the geo miners, if the coin app users knew that an area was claimed and had a reward for mining in a claimed area, then maybe I understand how claiming drives more data. But I'm talking on both sides of my mouth there, because I just said not too long ago that once you have claimed an area, you're responsible for constantly mining that area to get your claim rewards up. So yeah, I guess that's how it incentivizes more people. To me, I think like at the base, the 10,000 mile overhead view, adding the geo claiming feature encourages more people to use the app more often, because now it's a little bit more interesting. It's not just grinding away. There's a little bit of a game element. There's a little bit of something to play with here. Geo dropping did the same thing for me, and it's kind of exciting. A while back, I did a video because I went to Alabama and I mined the whole way across. If I go into my app right now and look, I believe I made something like 12 geo drops on that trip. And looking right now, 2, 4, 6 of those geo drops are still sitting there. So, you know, to say, oh, maybe XYO has fake miners out there claiming geo drops or making geo claims, like, that doesn't seem like something they would do to me, because then why wouldn't they have claimed all my other geo drops by now? They've been sitting there for a couple months, right? I have 218 XYO right now that's sitting in unclaimed geo drops. So, anyways, I really do need to wrap things up. So thank you so much for watching. I am reading your comments. I'll continue to read these. I'm going to look quick, because the last time I did a live stream, after I hit the stop streaming button, the chat stuff seemed to disappear. And I don't know why that is. I would love to keep this chat archived, especially for the people that are watching me on a delay and want to know what I'm referring to. Okay, well, I don't see that here. So hopefully we maintain this chat log into the future. But I really do appreciate you tuning in and watching and conversing with me in the chat box. Like I said, it makes the whole experience much more enjoyable. But, you know, it's now almost 1 o'clock on a Saturday that I was only working till 10:30, and then I got inspired to do something. So I will see you guys around. Take care. Keep mining. If you want to send me stuff, use XYO at what'syourent.com, but don't worry about that. I'll see you guys later.